This is episode 91 of the Rise Up podcast. We're a morning radio show hosted by Steve, Terese, and Tim on Family Life, a network of stations across New York and Pennsylvania. Our podcast is a weekly conversation that will help you think and grow in your faith. If you haven't already, subscribe today so you don't miss a single episode, and find out more about our show at familylife.org.
Today is the day the Lord has made. Rejoice and be glad in it. This is Rise Up on Family Life.
One of the best parts of the school day, maybe, that break between lunch and going back to class. How is recess for you?
Oh recess.
Boy. Can I start with a story that, speaking of start, my very first day of school. Now, this was not between lunch and back to school. This was like before school started, but we were out on the playground. My very first day of school hadn't even started yet. Everybody, all of us kids were out playing in the playground, and I was way out in the playground all by myself. And this is fun. This is
a school thing. I could get used to this.
Yeah, it's cool. And all of a sudden, I guess some horn went off or something. Of course, I'd never been to school. We didn't have to go to kindergarten back when I was there. So this was actually, I didn't go to kindergarten. It was my very first day of school.
Grade. Yeah.
First grade. A horn goes off, and I just keep playing because, I don't know what the horn means. I've never been in school.
Oh, no.
And then within a few minutes, I turn around out of my play world, and there's nobody out. I'm by myself. There's nobody on the playground. And I was like, huh.
You missed the bell.
Yeah, the bell. I was supposed to do something I didn't know. And then all of a sudden the principal came walking around the playground, because I guess I wasn't the only one ever to do that. And my very first day of school was me being walked into my first grade class with all the other kids sitting at their desks already and staring at me walking in. And so that was my opening to school.
Did that bother you, being being looked at by everybody? Was that it was
uncomfortable. Yeah, it was very, very uncomfortable.
This is an advancement they must have not had when you were a child. Where was your buddy?
I know,
your line buddy.
Oh, you have to have a buddy.
Always have to have a buddy, and you are probably the reason the buddy system was invented.
Probably was. You're welcome.
The Steve Buddy Act.
Yeah. So anyway, when you say recess, that's the first. I have a couple more recess stories, but I'll just start with that. I'll open it with I did miss the first few minutes of first grade, but everything worked out.
It's probably not surprising that recess didn't include a lot of sports playing for me. Like, there would be kids who'd grab a ball and be like, let's go play the ball game. And I'd be like, I don't know. Certain ones were fun. Dodgeball's great. Kickball, that was fun.
No, not.
But other ones, I was like, yeah, no, you can take the ball, and I'm going to go over here to the woods. We had the woods. Our little Christian school was next to, I'd love to see it now, because I know it wasn't a forest like the 100-acre wood, but that's what it felt like. It's really probably just a small crop of trees. But we had the woods, and some of me and my buddies would always go in the woods, and that was where it was always imagination. It wasn't a game with rules. It wasn't a game with a ball. It was, we'd make little villages out of sticks in the woods, or we'd play games and be adventurers in the woods. Now, where we did not go, I will tell you, was to the creek beside the woods. Well, we did when we got a little bit older and we were braver, because the legend went that there in that creek was quicksand.
Ooh.
There was quicksand in the creek. And this was the thing where, like, for a few years, it was like, you don't go to the creek. Don't you know? There's sinking sand in that creek.
Wow.
I really don't remember when that faded off. I don't even know if it's right now as I'm saying this that I'm realizing there was never definitely any quicksand there. But the quicksand, as for many of us, it turned out to not really be that much of a problem in life, even though I thought it was lurking right there in the creek behind the woods. But no, it was just maybe a little bit more of that imagination at work that I so often employed at recess.
I was much like you, Tim, that if there was a red rubber boink ball, I didn't want anything, because that would be the sound it would make when it would hit you in like the head. Boink, and you'd be like, I can still hear that sound reverberating. So I was more of a swing kid, you know. So you go to the swings. Now the cool kids could do this thing where they would swing and then they would jump and they would land on their feet.
Yes.
And I would do that sometimes, but this one time, probably the last time I ever tried, I landed right on my backside. Have you ever gotten the wind knocked out of you? That's something that happens when you're a kid, but like hardly ever when you. Why is it that when you fall down as a grown up, you don't have the wind knocked out of you, but always when you're a kid, and it's like the most terrifying feeling in the world.
It is. It's so scary.
And they don't teach you, like when you become a parent, they don't go do this if your kid, ever has the wind knocked out of them, or I don't even know what that phenomenon is. So I was trying to be cool. I should have not tried to be cool. There was another time where I thought that I was being cool. And I like to think maybe this is a generational thing. When I was a kid, TV shows had really good theme songs, right? Like actual songwriters would write the theme songs and they would be so good. And I knew all of the words to all of the TV theme songs. And it wasn't like now where you could like go back and rewatch it over and over and over. Like you had to memorize it Thursday night at 8:00, and I was so good at memorizing those TV theme songs. I would like teach other kids the words to the TV theme songs. And I remember one time I was like Mrs. Shapiro and I started telling her I know all the words to all the theme songs. And she said something very dry like, perhaps there are other things that you could also memorize. And I was like, she is not impressed with me. So I am not cool with the kids and I am not cool with the teachers.
Oh, no.
And that's when I realized that I was just a popularity nomad. Okay? I was just destined to let all of my awkwardness come out. I wouldn't say recess was my favorite thing. I was more of a art studio or library kind of kid, know?
Well, you guys said you didn't play the sports ball thing or you didn't like it. Here's what I remember. Ruth Ann Van Leer. Why do I remember her name years?
There's a story there.
Ruth Ann Van Leer, because she was the one that I think this was like third or fourth grade, probably fourth grade. During the recess, the guys would split into two teams and play touch football. And Ruth Ann Van Leer would be on the sideline, and she had all this big bag of candy bars.
Whoa.
Yes, and candy. And the winning team each got a candy bar each time.
She just got to make the rules of that? Who is she allowed to bring in all this candy?
I don't know.
Who's Ruth Ann Van Leer?
Were they allergy friendly?
I don't know, but this is a long time ago, when you could do those kind of things, bring in stuff. But I just remember that because you got a treat from Ruth Ann Van Leer. She'd sit there on the sideline and the winning team would do that. So there was that. And then there was it kind of reminded me, Terese, when you said the TV theme songs. Not quite like that, but imitating. I'm bringing up another name, Sue Paxton. Here's what I remember.
Great name.
We'd be on the swings,
right?
Because you said swings. Sue and I would be on the swings, and this is I'll give away. We used to imitate the president and the first lady. No, not Abe Lincoln. Not Abe Lincoln. It wasn't
the president and the first lady. Can we guess who it was?
Yeah, sure. You go ahead. Yeah. And I'll try to do the imitation.
It wouldn't have been Nixon, would it?
Nope. No.
It's before that.
You totally got me.
Teddy Roosevelt. I don't know.
No, that's why I said
history.
That's why I said it wasn't Abe Lincoln. So that was good. It was like I'd sit there on the swing and go, "Ask not what your country can do for you.
Oh, wow.
That's what you can do for your country."
JFK.
And then Sue Paxton would go, "Yes, that's what I would say." And so we would imitate JFK and Jackie Kennedy, and that was like
that seems like still a fun game now.
Oh, I know. Yeah. So anyway, but here's what I got from that. Thinking back on it, we were going to talk about recess. You remember my first story? I was all by myself, way out on the playground before school started, and I was by myself, and that was a bad experience. The experiences I remember are the ones where community, people together doing something. Ruth Ann Van Leer being sacrificial and giving something away. And it was all camaraderie and community. And of course, Sue Paxton and I doing our, president and first lady imitations. It was something together. So that's what I get from recess. The fun memories are the ones that were together in community. The really sad one and lonely one was when I was all by myself. And we can take that lesson today, right? We shouldn't isolate ourselves by ourselves. We get together with anybody that can do things, or maybe we can be that someone for someone else.
I don't know, should we tell him, Tim? When we finish the podcast, Tim's got a bag of candy bars for you.
That's right, I do.
Ask not
I do.
what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Give me a candy bar.
If you're looking for fun, hope, and encouragement, you've come to the right place. This is Rise Up with Steve, Terese, and Tim on Family Life.
You hear a great message from a pastor, or you see something on say, ooh, that's interesting. I need to dig into the word a little bit deeper to find more meaning into that. And that's great to do. What I'm about to say really has nothing to do with that.
This is very different than that.
Well, in a way, it is kind of. I thought about something. I heard something, and I'm like, does one thing have anything to do with the other? Okay, the animal, the parrot, or whatever
cracker.
that is.
Wants a cracker. Yeah,
Polly
that
wants
guy.
a cracker. Parrot.
Right.
The parrot hears something in many cases and then repeats it. Right. That's what a parrot does. Now, something that we on Rise Up, we have some of these. They're called parodies, Parody.
Sure.
Parody. It takes something that is, going on, and then we change it a little bit to have a little more twist to it.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering, since the word sounds kind of similar, I wonder, and I haven't dug into this yet, so I don't know the answer. I don't know if a parrot and a parody are related because they're taking something. I don't know.
I think the two words they're close, but not quite, because there's parody,
right,
which is like when we make a song that's a little bit silly. And then there's parody, which is when you look like a parrot.
Right.
And or like when you wear that feathered jacket, and I'm like, wow, that jacket is a little.
Yeah.
Is it like when I insist that one of you brings in crackers if I'm going to
you're being
cooperate?
parroty.
I'm being
Right.
kind of parrot-y at
You're
that
being
point.
parody.
Right.
Or parrotish.
Right.
Which,
Or parrotish.
But how many times have you met a girl named Polly and you say, hey, do you really? Do you really
you want to know how many
cracker?
times? I can tell you.
Is there a
Exactly zero.
charcuterie?
Exactly.
Is there a charcuterie that I
No.
definitely want a cracker? Call me Polly.
I got to stop thinking so much, I guess.
Reminding you that God is in charge today and every day. It's Rise Up with Steve, Terese, and Tim on Family Life.
Two things our world does not need. We don't need new flavors of candy corn.
Amen to that. One is enough.
And
Too much.
I agree. And we don't need candy corn flavored anything.
Yes, let's sequester that flavor just to the broken crayon nubs.
Okay. All right. Now listen here. Listen here about these broken crayon nubs, all right? We don't we want them their original flavor because that honey flavored wonderfulness.
So what that is?
Yeah, that's what
It
that
is honey. It's like as if you stumbled into an oak tree and a whole beehive fell right in your face. That's what it is.
Look, candy corn. My candy corn people know what I'm talking about here.
Yes, I know.
That there is this waxy shell around that soft interior of deliciousness. And the flavor doesn't need to change. Don't add chocolate. Don't make it green apple. Then I know it's a candle, all right?
Right.
I don't want that.
Can I add one more rule?
Okay.
I don't like the other rules, but if you must.
Well, your rule that there should only be candy corn that tastes like candy corn and no candy corn other flavored stuff. And said candy corn delicacy should only be available for sale from September 1st to October 31st.
Complete agreement right here.
Okay.
Because you keep it special.
Right. And if it's still at the store on November 1st, 5 cents a bag. Let's move it. Move it. Move it.
May the blessings of the Lord be with you in all that you do today. This is Rise Up on Family Life.